Okay, so Mayor Coolidge, the first thing I think that we should address here is where are we at in the process of coming to some sort of compromise when it comes to finding a shelter solution here?
You know, and I think really the community wants to know that. You know, where are we in the trial process? Where are we in terms of actually this getting some resolution? Because I think we all want to move forward, and I'm among those folks. So, you know, if you look at it right now, today actually they'll be submitting briefs to the magistrate in terms of a settlement conference. That'll be proceeding on the 30th, so there will actually be a settlement conference with the magistrate at that time. Hopefully the parties will be close enough that there can actually be some resolution, but that's really the issue we're dealing with. The two parties coming together. You know, I believe the other side kind of wants the moon, and you know, we're really just trying to deal with providing a solution that'll work within the city's budget, that'll end this so we can get back to enforcing in the parks and waterways. So it's complicated.
Okay, so I know that one of the things that the judge had brought up was that at this airport shelter site, we're not seeing beds, we're not seeing a roof, we're not seeing walls, air conditioning, all of these things that might entail what a shelter is. Is there a plan in the works to make that site more of a shelter, or is there some other sort of solution that you're cooking up?
Sure, and a lot of people like to, you know, talk about the airport site and say, you know, a lot of things were missing, but at the same token, a lot of things weren't in place yet. So we actually had an RFP, a request for proposal out for that site to have an organization management. And, you know, to have the management manage it in a way that actually would provide some of those things. But of course, because the county backed out of that site and we had other difficulties with that site, some of that never came to fruition. So right now you have the site out there, it has the spaces. We are actually providing additional shelter over the tents. But that site, even though a lot of people have really just said it's not a great location, it's not a great facility, it has now, I think, about 29 people out there staying. So it's grown on its own. Whether the city continues to do it, because we have gotten some pushback on it, because the judge did not like it, that's something that we're going to have to look at and see whether or not we tailor that back and go to something else. And I think that's really where the settlement conference comes into play.
Okay, it feels like this all seems so far down the line now. I know that everybody, they want some sort of solution, some sort of compromise reached, and we're still not even sure if we're going to try to make that work or go a completely different direction at this point.
Well, you know, certainly the city has an idea of what we can do. There are some sites being considered, some sites being offered. We really want to put that together. We want to make this problem a problem of the past. We want to move forward. Whether the plaintiffs are on board for that, you know, some folks would say that they're just trying to delay, trying to keep this process going as long as possible because it works in their favor. The city's, of course, pushing for the judge to make, you know, a decision quicker, to get to settlement sooner. So we've offered some pretty big things that I never thought we would put on the table. And the response we're getting is still just not even.
Can you tell me what some of those things are?
So, well, I can't tell you specifically what they are, but I can say we've looked at doing sites that, you know, are more conducive to, like, Comanche Creek. Sites that are more similar to it, I should say. So sites that have some shading, that have some trees, that would have better access to water. You know, so we put in some pretty hefty items on the table in terms of the council, but I don't see us ever moving personally to, you know, an indoor shelter facility, because that would be really difficult. It would be difficult for the entire 9th District to actually comply with that. You know, you're talking about San Francisco and LA. If they had to do something like that, even those cities would be on the brink of bankruptcy. So to require cities to provide indoor housing facilities when some of our citizens don't have that, to provide air conditioning when our citizens don't have that, I don't think that's a realistic outcome. I don't think the judge is going to burden the city with that, and every city in the 9th District with that.
Let's talk about what you do have in mind right now. If all goes according to maybe what you're offering, what you're planning, sure. What are we talking about for a startup cost to get something like that up and running, and then annual cost to the city to maintain something like that?
I mean, you are talking about a price tag in $1 million, which is very impactful for the city and the city budget.
Yeah.
You know, we're not a city like LA where they can afford $1 billion to be put towards this issue.
Yeah.
So, you know, for us, if you talk in the millions, you're talking about something that might be affecting other services.
Right.
But, you know, in looking at this, the county has stepped forward. You know, I've had a lot of conversations with different supervisors. We've had some meetings with different supervisors. They're willing to help bring in behavioral health into these sites. We just really need to get to the point where those sites are agreed upon so we can move forward and start on the solution side. And then also start back on the enforcement side, because not only is that important to me, it's important to a lot of folks in our community. We see a lot of the things happening. So